When it comes to I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025, one phrase comes to mind. When you leave a franchise for dead, make sure it's really dead. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Davey Deathray here, back with another non-spoiler movie review. This time around, we're taking a look at I Know What You Did Last Summer from 2025, directed by Jennifer Kaytin Robinson, who also shares a writing credit with Sam Lansky and Leah McKendrick. This flick serves as a reboot, requel, legacy sequel, whatever the hell you want to call it, of the original I Know What You Did Last Summer from 1997, as well as its sequel, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, which is canon in this timeline. Now, those original films are based on the book of the same name from 1973, written by Lois Duncan. If you haven't checked it out, I actually recommend you give that book a read. It's much more of a mystery and a thriller, and not so much of a slasher. But of course, we all know when Scream popped off, that kicked off a new wave of the slasher sub-genre. And so we started getting a lot of these easy to digest, teeny bopper kind of horror flicks back then. So here we are, almost 30 years later, and we've got a follow-up. Is it worth your time? Let's get into it. Real quick before we get going, please like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on the latest installment of the I Know What You Did Last Summer franchise. And guys, I want to try something new. If you're watching this video, maybe you are a regular at the channel, maybe this is your first time. Let me know where you are in our beautiful world, and let me know what time of day you're checking out the review. I'm curious to know, so put that in the comment section down below. Oh my gosh, guys, I almost forgot. I have in my possession 116 I Know What You Did Last Summer postcards. So if you'd like me to send you a personalized message, hit me up in my DMs. The links are in the description below, and I'll get something sent out to you right away. Okay, so getting into my overall thoughts on this film, I had really low expectations, guys. The way that I feel about the original films, and honestly, I've only watched the first two. I've stayed away from I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer, which I believe was direct to video, and I haven't heard anything good about it. So I've only watched the original two, and I think they're okay. They're fun enough. They're entertaining. I might actually like I Still Know What You Did Last Summer more, just because it's even zanier and dumber. I don't know. There's something about it that's just more appealing to me in that regard. So pretty low expectations going in here, and I guess they weren't low enough because I had a really tough time with this one. I felt like they held back quite a bit when it came to stuff like the kills. We'll get into that a little more in depth later. I felt like the acting was probably the strongest suit here. The directing had its moments for sure. There were some cool shots, but I just don't know who this movie is for. I don't see this movie creating new fans for the franchise. I don't really see it satisfying the fans that were there before. I'm happy I'm not a massive fan of this franchise because I'd probably feel like this movie is a slap in the face if I actually gave a damn. So yeah, even with low expectations, this one was relatively disappointing. But let's get into the direction, cinematography, the acting, the kills, the sound design, and music, and all that good stuff. Before we jump into the categories though, let's talk about the story, because that's actually one of my points of contention with this film. You know, whenever you're doing the reboot, requel, legacy sequel thing, I feel like you've got to have a way to bring the story to the modern age, something to reinvigorate the franchise that's just a little bit different than it was before. But I feel like our inciting event in this film is so close to what happens in the original movie that it's like they didn't even try. And I would say in the case of this film, the characters are much more innocent than they were in the 1997 version, so it's almost like there's not as much of a reason that someone would come after them. So of course, you know, you've got your inciting event. A year later, the characters start getting threatening notes. people start getting knocked off one by one, and they need to figure out who's dressed up as this fisherman, killing everyone until there's none of them left. And that's pretty much all I want to say without spoiling anything, because I feel like a lot of these reviews can delve into spoiler territory without even trying to, so let's move on, shall we? So kicking things off with the direction and cinematography, you can tell that the folks did their homework here. I mean, the movie starts off in a very similar fashion as the original. You got that shot of the ocean with the titles, nice flying camera, all that stuff. And there were moments in the film during the suspense and the pursuit and some of the kills where you kind of have that low to high angle, very ominous, some really good shots here. But I'll be honest, guys, maybe about halfway through the movie, I wasn't even thinking about how it was shot, because it seemed like all the creativity was kind of gone at that point, and I was just watching kind of a procedural neo-slasher flick. Now, as far as the acting goes, I would say this is the strongest suit in the film, but unfortunately the performers didn't get to write their dialogue or write the story because, guys, this movie is kind of a mess. But the performances that stood out for me were Sui Wonders as Ava and Tyreek Withers as Teddy. I felt like they were really strong throughout. I believed them as fully realized characters, and that's not to say that the other performers were bad. I really didn't see a poor performance in this film. I think Jennifer Hewitt was really good with what she had, and I enjoyed most of what Freddie Prinze Jr. had to offer as well. It was great seeing those guys back and everything, but yeah, I mean, the chemistry that they all had was great. I loved seeing these characters interact. It's just that there wasn't enough suspense for me, and there just wasn't enough believability in the story for me to really resonate with all of these characters as much as I wanted to. And moving on over to the kills and the visual effects, I think this was pretty disappointing. It's 2025, and I feel like a lot of the suspense and a lot of the kills felt like they were pulled from like a PG-13 or soft R late 90s film, much like the original one. I don't know where the marquee kill is here. I wanted more chasing and more suspense. I really didn't feel that at all. Other than a couple really cool shots of the fishermen, I just wasn't really digging it, guys. I was left wanting more. And I'm not going to get into any spoilers. There was one kill in particular that I thought was going in a really great direction. It was looking really cool. I've seen a lot of people talking about it on their spoiler reviews, and I was like, oh man, I hope they do this. And then they just didn't. And then there are kills even early on in the film where they pull away right before you get that final blow. And I'm all for having an off-screen kill here and there, having the marquee kill, having a nice mix of the gore. I don't need it to be balls to the wall gore all the time. I just felt like in this film, they held back a lot. And I didn't understand why I'm watching an R-rated film in 2025 that just doesn't have the guts to go for it. Having said that, there's nothing wrong with the effects they put on display. I think the work that was given to the folks doing the job did great here. Nothing looks bad or anything like that. Well, maybe there's one shot, and I can't even talk about it because it's spoilery, but there's one CG shot, and you'll know once you watch the movie, that looked pretty dated. But as far as the gore effects go, I think they're pretty good. I just wanted more. Okay, with music and sound design, I usually have a lot to say. I'm a big music guy, and I love how sound design can really bring everything together, sell the visual effects, sell the suspense, all that kind of great stuff. I don't really remember too much of the score or the soundtrack here. Nothing really stands out to me. But again, I'm in my 40s, so maybe I just don't know some of the needle drop songs they used and all that kind of stuff, much like I would have known those songs back in 1997 when I saw the original in the theater. But I will say this, the boot stomping of the fishermen, I thought was a little distracting, maybe a little too loud. I don't know. I get what they're going for. And of course, all the slashing of the hook and the other weapons, those sound design effects are pretty good and everything like that. There's just nothing here that really stood out to me, and really not much to discuss. To wrap things up, guys, I'm sure you can tell that I didn't really enjoy this movie, and that's unfortunate. You know, I never go into a movie wanting to dislike it. I went in with super low expectations, hoping to be pleasantly surprised, but ultimately this film just really didn't do anything for me. It didn't bring me back to those teenage years when I saw the originals in the theater, and it didn't deliver on being a modern take on something that I guess is looked at and regarded as somewhat of a classic, although I don't think that this franchise is very impressive. I would say this movie for me is like a 1.5 to 2 stars, probably leaning more to the 1.5 stars realm. So tough to recommend the theatrical experience, but if you want to just watch something that is entertaining and light, maybe you're not a big fan of the franchise, so you don't really care either way, because I think if you're a huge fan of the franchise, or at least I put myself in the shoes of big fans of the franchise, I might be a little pissed off with how this movie wound up, honestly, especially with how everything shook out in the third act. It is pretty rough. I didn't have the best time, and it's going to be a struggle to try to get through this one again, unfortunately. But I want to know what you guys think, so let me know in the comments down below. Am I totally wrong on this one? Am I taking it too seriously? What am I missing here? If there's something about the movie that you enjoy, or something about my review that you disagree with or agree with, let me know in the comments. I would love to get that conversation going with you. Before we head out, I gotta give a big thank you and shout out to our Patreon members as well as our YouTube channel members. You guys make every bit of work I put into the channel worth it, so thank you so very much. Really appreciate you stopping on by and checking out my non-spoiler review of I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share the channel with someone who you think would dig this kind of content. We have a whole bunch of fun stuff here on the channel. The community is growing. I love kicking it with you guys in the live stream, so come on by and hang out. And hey, we've got channel memberships for as low as 99 cents a month, which I think is just a heck of a good deal. We also have awesome merch on our Fourth Wall shop, so check out that link in the description below. And if there's something you want me to cover on the channel, like reviewing a movie or a topic of discussion, hit me up on my socials. Those links are in the description below as well. But that's going to wrap it up for me this time, so until next time, I've been and will continue being Davey Deathray. Take care.